As women, we are the creative forces of the universe. That means that when you're truly tapped into your feminine energy, anything that you want and anything that you desire, and here's the key, it has to come from a soul place, is going to manifest because it's available for you. So, creation is not something that you are actively trying to work toward because everything that is already created already exists, and if it's in your imagination, it's in the realm of possibility that it exists for you. It's just a becoming that is the issue. And a lot of times, what happens with most women is we block our manifestations from coming toward us. So if it's something that's already within your vicinity and it's something that you want, so when I say within your vicinity, that means that it's something that you desire. Anything that you desire is available for you. So long as it's not coming from an ego place, and I can teach you more about that in that video if that's something that you're interested in. But your feminine energy essentially unlocks everything that you want in this universe. And this is why I teach feminine energy, but I really, really, really stress the inner work because if you're not focusing on the internal aspects that are keeping you from what is already done and ready for you to access, you're never going to move. You're never going to be able to move toward it in a way that feels good and in a way that feels sustainable. So you might find that you feel stuck quite often, and you might find that you are moving forward, but then you're not really seeing evidence in your external reality that the thing you want is coming towards you. You might feel like, you might feel like you're doing all this inner work, but nothing is moving. And so the thing with inner work and my private clients, if you guys are watching this, you guys know I always say that inner work is difficult. It is very, 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 very difficult. And the reason is that first of all, it's uncomfortable. And so anything that is uncomfortable, right away, is right because it's challenging your identity and your state of being. And that's a good thing because we want to shake up the version of us that we are today so that we can move toward the version of us that we are trying to access. And of course, there's going to be discomfort there. And a lot of times the discomfort happens because the ego is involved. And so what generally keeps us stuck from manifesting, or let's say bringing the things that we want into our reality, into existence, because again, it's already done. It's created. It's just it's bringing it to light, right? So, everything is created in our universe of atoms and molecules, and everything is energy. I always focus on energy. You guys know that this is what I talk about on my channel. That means that it's already done. It's created in this field. We just want to bring what's in the field. We want to shift it into matter. When you're sitting and you're trying to make something that is already matter and you're trying to work with that with your head, or you're being strategic on how to shift things and you're doing it strategically, this is where we talk about masculine energy. And masculine energy is like the doing energy. It's the unhealthy masculine is the controlling energy. The masculine energy is the doing energy. And it's a lot more difficult to it's almost nearly impossible, let's say, to bring things into fruition from simply your masculine energy. So actually, I don't want to say impossible, you can do it, but it won't really feel good and it might not even feel purposeful, especially for women, because, I would argue that all of us have our innate feminine energy. And for most of you, it's dormant. And my job is to help you do the inner work. And this is why it can be really tough to hear what I have to say sometimes, because I'm very focused on inner work. And the reason I'm focused on inner work is you create your reality. And if you know my story, my background was, I attempted suicide. I lived on the streets. I had no money, right? To being married to the love of my life. I'm a multimillionaire now. I work in my purpose. This year alone, I haven't really been posting that much, but I'm already collapsed my yearly income into the last few months. And, it doesn't mean that there's no challenges there. It just means that I know how to look at a challenge and look at what I need to do within myself to move through the challenge. Because again, I create my reality. I am the center of my universe. And so if I want something to shift on the outside, I know that the work is not to shift the outside, it's to shift the inside. Because when you shift to the inside, everything that is meant for you is going to naturally already come. So a lot of manifestation practices are focused on visualizing and doing heady stuff to move toward the thing that you want. And while again I was saying before that yes, you can move toward what you want with your masculine energy, but it's going to drain you. What you really want to do is use your masculine energy to act when your feminine energy is sort of when your feminine energy should always be leading. And so your feminine energy is your intuition and it's the energy. So when that aspect of you is like, so that's your intuition, it's like bing, like I have an idea that I want to move forward with, then then you have to use your masculine energy and you have to take action on that idea or that ping or whatever. Like, and that generally is difficult to do because oftentimes your intuition, which let's just say is your higher self, is always going to ask you to do the thing, the next thing, from a place of like you're not there yet. So it's going to ask you from a very higher place. Of course, it's your higher self. So your higher self is all knowing. It knows what you need to do to get to the next steps. And when you do not trust your higher self, which again, that alone is like difficult to do, but when you don't trust your higher self, then you're not going to take aligned action. So, aligned action is essentially listening to your feminine energy, which is your intuition, trusting in your feminine energy, and then acting from alignment. And that is your masculine energy. Now, most of us are not able to do this because most of us are, and this is like the number one thing that's holding you back from your feminine energy, which therefore even your manifestations, is that you live in your head. And so, people always talk about, well, don't live in your head, live in your body. Well, what does that mean exactly? Well, when you're living from your head, you're living from your ego consciousness. And when you're living from your ego consciousness, you are very far away from your feminine energy, even your masculine energy, essentially. I know a lot of people talk about masculine energy lives in their head. Yes and no. So my husband is very much in his masculine energy, and he I guess you would say he's more in his head than I am. I'm never in my head. Like I'm more in my body, but he's also not in his head. So the things that he can control, he won't really be in his head trying to figure it out. He'll just act. That's his masculine energy. And the things that he can't control, he's not going to be in his head about it. He's not going to be thinking about it. Whereas in most of you guys, and you'll find this, where you're living from your head. You're literally in your head, which is robbing you from your feminine energy, which is your presence, which is where all your manifestation power exists. Because when you're in your head, what's happening is you're thinking about the next steps, or you're strategizing. So you're having a conversation with yourself in your head, which again is your ego consciousness. And what is ego? Ego is designed to keep you safe. Ego is not even it's like a separate entity, I guess you would say. It's like not real, right? It's a computer program. And in my course, like the first module, I talk about like the ego versus the soul and the differing thoughts that come from the soul versus like the ego thoughts, right? Because and this is the thing, when you have a fixation to your mind, you're not going to be able to receive the ideas, which is your intuition, which is your divine feminine energy, right? Like, which is your higher self. So, like, I like to say that that's your feminine energy. You're not going to be able to hear or receive messages from your divinity or your feminine energy. Why? Because you're in your head. So, the thoughts that are spiraling around in there, which often, and you guys can, check in with that, they're very low vibe thoughts. They're survival thoughts. And they're thoughts that, limit you and they keep you safe. And again, we don't want to shame the ego. The ego was there to help us survive and to keep us safe. Our mind really is designed to keep us safe. And those people that have really become successful in life have learned how to use the mind in a very successful way as a tool to help them create the life that they want. And most of you, what you're doing is you're living in your head. So there's stories that are going on in your head. And so you can even think about right now, as I'm speaking, there's probably stories going on in the back of our head. Verine's hair is shorter. Did she color her hair? There's a plant over there. What is she being up to? There's like stories, right? Um, you also want to look at like the negative stories that you're telling yourself about yourself, or even in comparison to someone else, or like a comparison to another woman, or jealousy, because all those things, again, they don't hurt the other person. They really just block you from moving towards the things that you want. Because if what you want is to also be successful, or you also want to be in your feminine energy, then when you're having comparison thoughts or jealousy thoughts, and again, this is not to shame, this is just awareness, what happens? Like our frequency lowers, and what we're really saying, like in a greater, like, you know, like in a more expanded like viewpoint, or what the energy is reading is, you don't believe that you're able to also tap into your energy, into your feminine energy. You don't believe you can have the thing that she has. Because if you believed you could have the thing that this person that you're jealous of has, you would never feel jealous. You would feel, essentially, you'd feel inspired. You'd feel like, wow, like it's so amazing that this person was able to get from point A to point B, and I want to get there. And if that's something that you genuinely want, not from an ego place, like from a soul place, then if that's something that you want and it's meant for you, it'll happen for you as well. But if it's coming from jealousy and just like negative emotion, so like think about how you feel when you're in your ego survival energy. It's the opposite of femininity, right? Because what's femininity? Femininity is vulnerability, it's openness, it's lightness, it's happiness, it's a feeling of like magnetism. Like this person has this thing about her that is just, it draws you in. That's your feminine energy. And think about how you feel when you're in your ego and in your, like, I don't want to say negative energy, but your ego can feel like you're in your negative energy, right? Because it's constantly putting you down. It makes you feel like shit. It makes you feel that you're limited and you can't have the things that you want. It's constantly like comparing, contrasting what this person has compared to what you have. And it's always going to keep you small. So the key is that you want to identify when you're in your mind. And in my course, I go into this like a little bit more, and I teach you specific tools to start working into embodiment. So embodiment is really important, right? Like a lot of people talk about feminine energy, masculine energy, like all these concepts, but they're not an embodiment of feminine energy. And feminine energy is a feeling. You're going to feel a woman's femininity. She's going to have an attractive aura and magnetism about her. And it's not a looks thing. We all have, we all have access to our feminine energy. It's a feeling, it's a vibe, right? And it's also a woman that's in her feminine energy has a lot of self-trust, and you can sense this, and that is feminine energy. So again, we're moving into a world where embodiment is going to take precedence over content. So be careful who you are like trusting with their knowledge in terms of feminine energy, because they should be embodied in it. And so for you, what you can do is pay attention to when you're in your head and come back simply to presence, because your femininity is like your divinity, and your divinity only exists in the present moment, and everything is in the present moment. So anytime you're in your head, notice it. That's the awareness, and then come back into the present moment and go and do whatever it is that you're doing in the present moment. And in the beginning when you're doing this, it's going to be one of those things where you're catching yourself all the time. Oh my God, I'm in my head, come back to the present. I'm in my head, come back to the present. And this is how you slowly, this is one small way to shift into your feminine energy, and essentially also tap into manifestation. Okay, my loves, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you want to speak with me about your personal situation, please book a call with me. I'm kind of booked until July right now. So if you do want to speak with me and you book a call, just email me and I'll fit you in on my end. Definitely take a look at the courses. The course is going to help you so much. And the books are also going to help you go deeper in terms of learning about masculine, feminine energy. And I will see you on the next one. Bye for now.